All right, what's good? What's good? What's good in the hood? I am, as always, your host, Juice, and this week I am fortunate enough to be joined by Mr. Robert Johnson, the manager, the founder, I believe, of the Solomon Group, correct? And also involved involved with the YWCA in a very important role as far as developing entrepreneurship in the communities. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well considering the craziness of the world right now. But I would love for you to expound on how this going for you with the pandemic, and I'm sure you've been on 1,000 Zoom calls through all this process.
Yeah, it's interesting, man, because Black people were in a precarious position before this all happened. So it's a pandemic on top of a pandemic, as it has often been described. We were first, hit with the fact that, this kind of caught a lot of people off guard, particularly in the Black community. There were a lot of rumors out there going out in the beginning that Black people couldn't get coronavirus, which proved to be quite the opposite, that we were disproportionately impacted by coronavirus because we were, we were and are a lot of the essential workers. A lot of folks couldn't work from home, couldn't social distance. A lot of folks in our community had, already underlying health issues that made them even more susceptible to not being able to survive the illness. I lost my aunt in Detroit because of the coronavirus, and she died basically because she was, Black and poor. Just simple as.
My deepest sympathies.
Thank you. So this really is a serious issue in our community, and it just highlights the fact that there's not just a health disparity in our community, but there's a wealth disparity. And what I try to focus a lot on is educating our people around how to create wealth. And nobody wants to talk about wealth in the Black community. We talk about, the poor health outcomes, but we are no better off than we were in the last 400 years since emancipation. When we were, quote, freed, Black wealth accounted for 0.05% of the United States wealth. And then in 2020, Black wealth still accounts for 0.05% of the United States wealth. The white family has average 10 times greater net worth than a Black family. The average white family has a net worth of $171,000, whereas the average Black family has average net worth of about $17,000. So,
how those numbers don't lie.
Yeah, and then the pandemic has made it worse because those businesses that we did have and those jobs that we did have, a lot of them have been lost. And a lot of them are not coming back. Every time something happens to us, it takes us that much longer to recover. Then you take on top of that the murder of George Floyd. That has really just awakened a lot of people about just the health and wealth disparities and just how bad it is for Black people in this country. And now, white people for the first time, I think, are really starting to realize that there are two Americas that we live in. I can't remember if it was Martin Luther King or Malcolm said the most segregated hour of the week is Sunday mornings when we're in church. We have a whole different experience in this country than white people do. So how it's been going for me to answer your question after all of that is, it has really made me refocus and try to refocus as many of our people on what we need to do in order to take care of ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. My focus is on that financial piece. So as you alluded to when you did the introduction, I've been an entrepreneur. I call myself a lawpreneur. I've been a lawyer for about 7 years, and I've been an entrepreneur for probably about twice that amount of time. And for me, I always say, entrepreneur is just a fancy French word for hustler. That's all it is. And most of us, as Black people, have had some kind of hustle, some kind of side gig, some kind of just thing we do to make ends meet. And I've always been that way since I was a kid. But now I spend the entirety of my time trying to teach other people how to turn that hustle into a legitimate business.
Absolutely.
Because we did the best as a people when we were entrepreneurs. Black Wall Street didn't fail; it was destroyed. Every time we had success, it was taken from us. So we built this country. So we are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is in our DNA. We were brought over here to work and to develop and to build and to create. That's why we're so creative now. We just got to channel that creativity into lanes that's going to be beneficial for us.
Absolutely. And one of the things for me, because you hit so many great points. When I remember when the George Floyd thing happened, the murder, and the immediate reaction from us, of course, was heartbreak, anger, rage as a community. And I had a discussion with my father, he's 64, so he was around for the '68 riots, and he remembers that how that went down and how the West Side of Chicago is still much depleted because of that. And he was kind of torn when it came to regards of the protests in our community after the George Floyd murder. And my point, and a point that many people seem to have also in regards to that, is us rioting or quote unquote looting in our community. I don't think that set us back as much because they don't give us much in our community. Our community is pretty stripping of a lot of things, and we don't have that many opportunities. It's systematic racism and systematic oppression as far as education being so deplorable in our communities, and then that coming to there being a lack of businesses in our communities outside of liquor stores and fast food restaurants. So I kind of wanted to get your take on that and your reaction to the reaction of George Floyd's death and what we need to do to build our communities up.
Yeah, so I thought a lot about that because, I grew up poor. I grew up in a poor neighborhood, so there were no Black-owned businesses in my neighborhood. I grew up in Fort Heights. Shout out to Fort Heights. I grew up in Fort Heights, and to this day, there still aren't many businesses. I drove through there the other day, and it looks just as bad as it did when I grew up. So that's that. And I've left there over 30 years ago, and nothing has changed. So to your dad's point, a lot of these things in our community haven't changed, and you can't blame it on the riot. There has not been no investment in our community, to your point.
Yeah.
So, Trevor Noah talked about, there's a social contract. If I'm poor and and I see all of this, bling and all of this other stuff over here, the only thing that keeps me from taking that is the social contract that we all agree that I'm not supposed to do that. That's the only thing that keeps me from robbing and stealing and the people who do that, we say they've broken that contract. But when you have a system that doesn't honor what it is that it says it's supposed to do for you every day, you're supposed to serve and protect me, but that's not what you're doing. So at some point, people are going to say, well, why should I honor my agreement with you if you ain't honoring your agreement with me? I'm not invested in, you're not invested in my well-being, so why should I be invested in your well-being? And what that really said to me when I saw that, again, going back to what I said earlier, we were brought over here as property. We were not brought over here as human beings. We were brought over here as property. So this system values property. That's what it is built on. So white people got upset because we were taking property. If you notice, that's what they were upset that George Floyd got killed, murdered. But then when the rightful anger spilled over into destruction of property, they're like, well, hold on now.
Yep.
You can't be mad, but you can't destroy property. That's because that's sacred to them.
Right. A life isn't as valuable as a Target store to them.
Right. And we don't own anything in our community. So for you to expect, so we don't own that Target. We don't own that grocery store. We don't own that, most of the businesses in our community. So the fact that there are businesses in our community don't necessarily, we need them there, but they don't necessarily feed us in the way that they would, in my view, if they were Black-owned businesses. Because when I worked for McDonald's for many years, And I was one of my jobs was the company liaison to all the Black-owned McDonald's. And what would happen in a lot of these riots or a lot of these situations is that the McDonald's wouldn't get destroyed, because in McDonald's they taught the Black McDonald's owner operators, and a lot of them were just this way anyway, not just to have a business in the community, but be a part of the community. So they would sponsor the Little League. They would, give out turkeys on Thanksgiving or whatever. So the community saw that, okay, it's a Black person, it's a Black business, and they in the community trying to help. So then when some stuff went down, people were like, no, not that business, go on to the next one. So a lot of these businesses, and to this day, a lot of the Black businesses got hit. They have to ask themselves, did I get hit because I wasn't in the community? I got a business in the community, but I ain't part of the community. So I understand and understood why people loot. Now, some of this stuff was just opportunistic. I mean, there was some folks that was just trying to get it. They was just trying to get it. I mean, I ain't never seen. I mean, they rolled up with U-Haul trucks. That was a whole different group. But there was another group that just got mad. And then the other thing you got to realize is that at that time there was about 30 million people who didn't have a job. Yeah. So some of these folks just straight up needed stuff. I mean, they were working. So some of them. So you had a different class. So it's a lot more complex than what people try to make it out to be. Particularly if you're not from the community. But some of the people I think was looting because they are straight up poor and they needed whatever it is that they could get their hands on. Some people were opportunistic, and some people were just were fed up. So I have a take a little bit more like yours, that I get and understand why people did what they did.
And I'm not sure if you can enlighten us more upon this, but kind of branching off the point you made, because your point regarding McDonald's especially was fantastic, and how Black-owned McDonald's businesses are part of the community. And the thing about businesses, and honestly the police also, for Black communities, is like you said, that they work for the community, they're in the community, but they're not part of the community. They don't interact with the community. But like the police in Black communities typically just patrol, harass, or whatever they do as police, and then drive away. While in white communities, police, you'll see them at the restaurant, you'll see them with the people. You don't see, like, that doesn't happen in our community. Police do not interact with us in a civil manner, typically, especially in our low-income communities. And the same goes for businesses, as you said. So I was curious on your do you have a stance as far as the funding the police goes to add investment in other areas of the Black community? Because the police are getting new cars while the schools are still having books from 1995.
Yeah, I mean, I think there has not been investment in the Black community. There's been militarization of the Black community. So whenever Donald Trump and other people talk about sending in the military and the National Guard, we don't need. Listen, what I tell people all the time is that Black folks could almost be Republicans, because we are conservative people by nature. Black people don't like crime because we're typically the victims of crime. We don't. We're religious. We for the most part, like I said earlier, we play by the rules. I mean, if you get up in Chicago at 6 o'clock in the morning and before coronavirus, before all this everything got shut down, and you go stand on the L station, you'll see a number of Black folks trying to get to work or school or wherever it is they're trying to get to. So it's not, we've never been lazy, or, I mean, again, we built this country, so laziness is not in our DNA. Now, you got segments of folks and you got policies that have been implemented to try to make us lazy, and some people have taken advantage of that, but that's not who we are as a people. So my thing about the police, what I learned throughout this whole thing was that how police started. Police started as slave catchers. That's the origin of the police force. Again, to get white folks, when their property ran off, which was their slaves, they had these white men that got together in these groups and went off and to chase their property and bring their property back, their slaves. That's the origin of policing. That's where it came from. I did not learn that until, if you go back and look at how police forces, they were neighborhood militias that were organized to go and retrieve runaway slaves. So that's history. So when people talk about erasing history, no, I don't want to erase history. I want y'all to know history, what it really is. That's how the police force got started. So to your point, there was a different relationship between the police and the white neighborhood, because when they say serve and protect what? Protect property. That's where serve and protect comes from. They were designed to serve that community and protect their property. Wow. So so the serve and protect, what does that mean in my community? Because for the most part, we ain't got no property. So what are you serving? So there has to be a dialogue about what policing means in our community. And then I can't remember who this was that I was just listening to the other day, talked about the fact that, by very definition of police, they come after the crime has been committed. It's not like they are going around looking, and I mean, you call the police after something has happened. So we got to have our own understanding of how we want policing and how we want to enforce things in our community. To me, the biggest thing that we got to overcome is not, or in addition to defunding the police and investing in our schools, is that we got to stop this no snitching policy. The snitching the no snitch rule only benefits the criminal. It doesn't benefit the community. So when did that become a thing? I don't get it. So that's a whole nother. We got babies dying and nobody gonna. So you gonna protect somebody that kills a baby? Are you serious? Are you for real right now?
That's also like it's also like just made me even more hurt, because with all this going on, with all the murder of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Rashard Brooks, I mean, it's been piling on, and we are not we, but like there are people in our community who are giving those police more power by killing babies, and it's like how do we fight against ourselves and the police? And this is what the system has set us up against. That's why there's 40% of us in prison. And
right.
It's to me, it comes down, first thing first is education. I think the school system is just so deplorable that kids don't want to go to school in Chicago. Teachers don't want to go to the school in Chicago. Like, no one wants to be there, and it's unfortunate. And with that, it also adds trouble as far as us getting our own businesses, as we were talking about earlier. So I would love for you to kind of go into what you're doing with the Impact Investment Advisory Council and the Solomon Group as you're building entrepreneurship in our communities.
Yeah, so that's what the Solomon Group is. It's a social enterprise management consulting firm. So we help small businesses get, particularly Black and women-owned businesses, get access to capital and just help them figure out how to get started or how to grow their business. In addition to that, I'm Chief Economic Inclusion Officer and General Counsel for the YWC at Metropolitan Chicago. And what that means is basically all economic empowerment programs are part of my portfolio. And I just joined the Y back in February. And it's led by an amazing woman, Black sister named Dory McWhorter. And she's taken the organization from a $7 million organization to about a $30 million organization in like 6-7 years. And it's her vision to just help create wealth in our community. And that's what she's asked me to help lead, is how do we create wealth in our community? So in the Economic Empowerment Institute, what falls under that portfolio is we have a small business development center, SBDC, so you can come, it's free. It's over in Woodlawn neighborhood. You can come, get your business plan, get any and everything that you need to start a business. We also do what we call side hustle Saturdays. So even if you don't have a business, but like I said earlier, you got some kind of a side hustle you're trying to figure out how to launch, we would come help you figure out, how to get that thing going. We have a Workforce Innovation Institute, so we help people find jobs. Because everybody's not going to be an entrepreneur. Some people just want to work. So we got a very robust workforce development program that helps people with resumes, all of their soft skills. We have employer partners that allow people to get opportunities in construction, manufacturing, transportation, distribution, and logistics, technology programs. We're launching this fellowship in the fall, which basically creating like a college with not like a 4-year college, but a curriculum-based college that allow you to for in a short amount of time to take some classes that will increase your income. So we're real excited about that. And then we also have our Financial Inclusion Institute. So we do all kind of financial education, helping people with budgeting, helping people with savings. We're launching our own prepaid debit card to help people build their credit. It's called a Respect Card. So you can start, if you can't get a traditional credit card or you're unbanked, you can use our debit card to start, paying for things, start and not go into debt. Then we also do financial counseling as it relates to housing, try to help people get their homes, foreclosure counseling to help people keep their homes. Then we also have, we just merged with Streetwise, which is, if anybody's worked downtown, they've seen the brothers on the corner selling the magazines. These are folks who are homeless or at risk of being homeless, but want to start a business. So they're entrepreneurs. They want to support themselves and eventually, get the stability that they need in their life. So we take people from just surviving to thriving to what I call catalyzing. So we take you through the whole continuum. Then the last piece is our Innovation and Technology Institute. So we teach all type of computer skills. So we have all type of computer classes. And now with the pandemic going on, all of this stuff is virtual. You don't have to leave your house to participate in any of these programs except for Streetwise, because we also give out food every day. We're doing it 6 days a week during the pandemic. We're giving out food to folks that need it. So we're doing everything that we can, man, to try to help create wealth in our community and sustain our community. And like I said, take people from just surviving to teaching them how to thrive, and then how to catalyze, how to become catalysts for change in not only their lives, but in the lives of others in our community.
And how can people get in contact to get into these programs?
You can go to our website, YWCA Metropolitan Chicago, and then you just click on it, and it has all of the different programs that we have, and then it has the contact information. Or you can call me 925-4579, 312-925-4579, and I'll get them plugged in.
Man, wow, that's amazing, sir. And we got connected because a mutual friend of ours, mutual acquaintance of ours, John Brooks, shout out to John, hit me up, and I guess he's getting involved into as far as the litigation evolved around the cannabis industry. And I know that's a new industry that's beginning to boom, and everyone's looking for a job in a dispensary in Chicago, and looking to open dispensaries in Chicago. Can you talk about the many opportunities in this industry and how to get involved and to get in a dispensary or whatever?
Absolutely, yeah. So I met John earlier, probably about a year and a half ago. Because I'm also involved in the cannabis space as well. And the reason that I got involved in the cannabis space is around this concept called social equity. Again, going back to what we were talking about before in our communities, part of the problem in our community is that there's this so-called war on drugs. So that's one of the reasons why the police are in there, over militarized and looking to, stamp out drugs, and that's created, that this prison pipeline, and a lot of brothers and sisters got caught up because of this so-called war on drugs. So here in Illinois, when it was debated to make cannabis legal, recreational cannabis legal, what was written into the bill is this concept called social equity. Which was to try to address the fact that 99% of the folks in cannabis that's making millions and billions of dollars are white men. And 70 to 90% of the people who are in jail because of the cannabis are black men and black women, and brown men and women. So the idea was, how do we take this law that's going to be passed and is going to create this market that's going to be extremely lucrative? How do we give black folks who were previously incarcerated, but for something that is now legal, to participate in this industry? So that's why I got involved, because again, it's a way to create wealth. The whole idea behind the law is to create wealth for black people and brown people and those who have been, disenfranchised by this. So I'm on this advisory board for this organization called Growmentum, which is a social equity accelerator, an incubator to teach black folks, or what I call SEAs, social equity applicants, people who are applying for a dispensary license, teaching the business, because a lot of folks may have been selling weed illegally, but now that it's legal, it's regulated, you got to do it a certain way, otherwise you still will go to jail. So that's what it's about now, is trying to teach folks the game. How do you get in the game, and how do you make money in a legal way? So we're actually holding a workshop on the 15th where we're going to have Commissioner Bill Lowry, because I'm also on the Cook County Cannabis Commission. And my whole goal is to try to make sure that black people don't get taken advantage of yet again in this new industry that's being created, or that has been created. So we're having Bill Lowry, and we reached out to Toy Hutchinson to give everybody an update as to what's going on, because everybody applied for these licenses and trying to get a dispensary, and nobody's gotten them yet. So we're trying to figure out what's the hold up, what's going on, give folks information, give them an update about what's happening with the licenses, and give them an opportunity to hear from the community about how this process has been and what it is that we think needs to happen going forward. So again, if folks are interested, they can reach out to go to Growmentum Labs. That's our website, to find out more information about how to get involved in the industry. And then folks are just focused on cannabis, but I also encourage folks to look at hemp. I think there's a lot more runway, and a lot more opportunity in hemp. But everybody is chasing the shiny thing, which is cannabis. But don't sleep on hemp, because it's already legal in all 50 states, and there's so many things that you can do with hemp, and it's a lot less costly to get involved in. It's the same plant, but it's just not illegal because it doesn't have THC in it.
Wow. So with hemp, is that similar to CBD? Yeah,
CBD, hemp, and cannabis, all the same plant.
Right.
The THC is what makes you get high. So cannabis has the more THC, the higher you get. So all of the different strains of cannabis are designed to have different effects on your physical body and your mental space as it relates to the amount of the THC that's in it. The CBD is supposed to be the healthy part of the plant, without the THC in it, and it's more used for medicinal reasons, things that try to help you, feel better, regulate your mood, heal you, all of that. That's the THC. Hemp is more industrial. I mean, you can make rope out of hemp, you can make a house out of hemp, you can make clothes out of hemp. I mean, it just has so many uses that it's a remarkable product. The reason why marijuana, while all of these products were legal, have nothing to do with them being bad for you. It was really political. I mean, again, knowing your history, if you go back to the history of why these things became illegal, it was because of the textile, steel, and a couple of other industries came together and looked at this and said, this is a threat to our livelihood. And the people who primarily partake of this are brown people. So let's criminalize it. It has nothing to do with it being bad for you, or something that is, immoral. It has nothing to do with that. It was all political and financial.
And I guess one thing I often hear about as far as cannabis licenses and getting the card is that when you get that, you won't be allowed to be licensed to have a gun. Is this true?
It's legal here in Illinois, so there's
Right.
nothing that will prevent you from being able to get a gun if you got you talking about a medical card, or you talking
Yeah,
about
medical card. Yeah, so
not
necessary.
somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but not that I'm aware of. There's nothing. Again, once something is legal, it's legal.
Right. Yeah. So as long as you don't need you don't need a medical card at this point. You just go to the dispensary now.
Yeah, no,
And
you don't need a medical card now because it's
legal. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's legal. So you can roll up and I think some of my friends that do have medical cards, sometimes they have some advantages, like they may not have to stand in the same. Because a lot of times a long line. I don't know what's going on now with social distancing, but they get some perks as a result of having a medical card. I never had a medical card, so I don't know what difference it is for them now versus since it's legal. But I know one of my boys that has one. He always talks about he just goes straight to the front of the line. So,
and I'm gonna get you out of here in a second. I just want to, I guess, ended up on one thing. So I want to give you praise because, like I said, we met through John, and haven't really engaged much. So I wasn't truly aware of everything you're a part of, and just talking to you after you broke down early in the conversation how entrepreneurship is the fancy word for hustle, and to hear all the different councils and boards you're a part of, brother, I must commend you. I must tell you, I'm proud of everything you're doing without even knowing you. I'm someone I aspire to reach that level in the future years. And as someone in the creative industry, trying to build a podcast brand and build a new media brand, especially during this pandemic when I've been laid off twice already from the same job during this pandemic. So it's definitely difficult times. I just first want to commend you, and I want you to kind of talk more about like how important it is to if like you said, everyone's not an entrepreneur, but how important it is to use your hustle mind state. That I do agree with you. I think it's in the Black DNA. How important it is for us to use that.
Well, first of all, thank you, man. I appreciate that. So, Black people are resilient. Let's start there. I mean, we survived stuff that nobody else could have survived. I mean, we still here. We are doing, even though I often quote those statistics that I gave earlier, but we're still here. We generate $1.3 trillion a year as a people, which is the GDP of Canada. So we have wealth as Canada. And only being 13% of the population. So we have work ethic and drive. Like you said, you got laid off twice and you still out here hustling. So that is part of our DNA. This is an opportunity now for us to do a reset and figure out, and what I wanted to say earlier is the issue I think that we have as a community is that we don't have a plan. We don't have an agenda. So as a Black people. So until we get that, I think we're still going to struggle and flounder to a certain extent. But that doesn't prevent you as an individual from having a plan and an agenda and figuring out what's important to you. Like for me, my goal and the reason that I was created was to make 1 million leaders before I die. I mean, that's why God put me on this planet, I feel. And one of the things that I want to do, I was talking to my son last night, is I want to develop Bronzeville. My wife and I am from up north in Logan Square, and we moved in Bronzeville. And part of the reason moving to back to the South Side was to develop the South Side. I mean, Bronzeville is one of the most affluent African-American communities in the city. It is the only community in which Black folks are moving to. It is one of the only communities in the city where Black incomes are rising. And it's our version of Harlem. It is the quote most affluent African American community in the city, but it has $1 billion retail gap. Literally, $1 billion goes out of Brownsville every year and goes into other communities because we don't have the retail here in this community, to the restaurants, to all of that, the stuff that Black people want.
Yeah.
But they have the money to do it, to patronize it, but we don't have it here. So my goal is to develop 47th Street. My boys is developing 43rd, and another group is developing 39th. 47th Street right now looks rough. Every time I drive past it, I just shake my head. But we got to start focusing on like what you're doing. There's no reason why you couldn't have a studio on 47th Street or 43rd Street. You know, we got to begin to create businesses in our community because that's what employs us. Again, if people don't want to be an entrepreneur, you still need entrepreneurs in the community to employ other Black people. So my plan is to focus on that little strip, that one street. If I could develop that street, my goal is to make, you know, Brownsville look like Lincoln Park, Black Lincoln Park. That's my goal. How come we can't have Lincoln Park on the South Side?
Mm.
So
why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? It's crazy. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Why do we always got to go outside of our community to have the things that we want? Malcolm said, if you want to integrate schools, make the Black schools the best schools there is, and white folks fight to put their kids in these schools, and you see
Absolutely.
that. When we have good stuff, they come through. So we need to just focus on building our own communities. That's what everybody else does. That's why I can understand why folks get upset when Black Lives Matter. When you do what you do, don't nobody say anything about, you know,
nothing.
What you're doing to support and protect your community. Why is it when we want to protect ourselves, folks got an issue?
We can't like honestly. They want our culture. They want to do everything we do and restrict us of doing anything else at the same time. It's crazy, and it's also crazy that you just said what you said about building 47th Street. I was just talking to my friends. We're all from Maywood, Illinois, a small suburb outside of the West Side. You know, pretty much all Black. Grew up there my whole life. My parents grew up there. You know, generations of Blackness from Maywood. If you drive through Maywood now, it's disheartening. And I was telling my friends the other day, I'm about to be 30 September, and my goal by the time I'm 35, I want to own a strip mall in Maywood and have Black-owned businesses only in that strip mall, of maybe a barbershop, a gym, some things like that. I think it's important. I think it's super important that what you and your people are doing in Brownsville is crazily influential and inspiring, man, to say the least. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's it, man. If everybody just do what they can, and we got to support each other. So if there's anything that I can do to help you develop Maywood, I'm down. We definitely got to support each other.
Man, and I thank you for talking to me, man. I'd love to talk to you in the future. I'm sure we can connect with you.
Absolutely.
Man, powerful things are going on.
Everybody go check out YWCA Metropolitan Chicago. Check out our programs. Check out Grow Momentum. And, you know, again, stay safe.
Can they find you anywhere on social media, or you want to post that?
Yeah. My website is Solomon Group. SolomonGroup.com. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All of it, Solomon Group.
Awesome. Justice for George Floyd, justice for Breonna Taylor. All Black Lives Matter, man. Thank you guys, and see you guys next time.
All right, now.